Welcome to the keyboard video lesson for lesson number 5 from A Fresh Approach for the Beginning Percussion class. In this lesson, we're going to do our daily warm-up and add a new exercise or a new 5-note scale, the B-flat 5-note scale. I'm going to teach you a new note value called the dotted half note and dotted half rest, and then we're going to learn some new notes. So let's start off with our daily warm-up. Now, every single day you should go to the video of the daily warm-up and play along with those video accompaniment files that has a snare drum and keyboard at the tempos that you need to do for this lesson. Really encourage you to do the 5-minute warm-up on the snare drum, transfer over, do the 5-minute warm-up on the keyboard every single day. Now, in this video lesson of the daily warm-up, you will do 8-4-2-1 at 80, 100, and 120. So let's start off at 100 and just see if we can play these in tempo. So now we're thinking eighth notes. Bum 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 bum. Play it along with me. 1, 2, and 1 and 2 and ready, go. So if you can play that first starting at 80, just to kind of get those hands relaxed and that motion really nice and steady and even, okay? Remember that I'm hitting right in the center of the bar. Remember that I'm leaving some space here in my back finger, and I should just feel that mallet shaft striking the palm of the hand at the heel and the back fingers on every stroke, okay? Try to make that as even and smooth as possible. Only using your wrist, just a flick of the wrist for each note, not a full wrist motion, okay? Which would mean that I'm grabbing the fingers in the back here, and certainly not with your arms. Okay, at that same tempo, let's do the C 5-note scale. 2 and 1 and 2 and ready, go. One more time. 1, 2, set and go. Okay, the next exercise that we do every day, or scale that we do on the keyboard, is the chromatic scale. Now remember, we are playing with the right hand first time through, up and down, left hand second time through, third time through, alternating. Now, if you're really good, you might be able to say the note names, sharps going up, flats going down. If you can, you're doing really well. Let's do right hand first. 2 and 1, 2, set and go. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, B, B flat, A flat, G flat, E flat, D flat, C. Left hand, 1, 2, set and go. C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F sharp, G sharp, A, D sharp, B flat, A flat. I'm doing really well. I can do it if I really concentrate and really think about what I'm actually saying each note. Okay, that's an added benefit. If you can do that, that's a challenge. Certainly not necessary, but you should be able to find any note on the keyboard, either sharp or flat, just by looking at a key and saying that could be a flat or it could be a G sharp. All right, be able to do that. Now, alternating your strokes. 1, 2, and 1 and 2 and ready, go. right, you can also start that on your left hand instead of your right. The only thing that switches is which hand plays which accidental. Let's try it starting on the left hand. And 1, 2, set, go. All right, if you can play the chromatic scale alternating off of the right hand or off of the left hand, then you would be able to play any chromatic scale starting on any note on the keyboard. Now we're going to gradually get faster and faster, so getting used to. Starting on C with the right hand, then eventually we'll transpose it into other keys, maybe starting off the F. And then eventually doing 2 octaves or doing the whole length of the keyboard. All of those are things that we're going to be working towards. So practice starting off your right, starting off your left. The other 5-note scale that we learned in our last lesson was the F 5-note scale. Now remember, all 5-note scales have a pattern of whole and half steps. So F, if I remember, up a whole, G, up another whole, A, up a half, B flat, up a whole, C. So whole, whole, half, whole. Now we'll use this when we compose our new scale, but just remember your F 5-note scale starts on F, whole, whole, half, whole. Just get that through your head, and then we'll revisit it when we go to the B flat scale. Let's try our F scale at 100. Bum, 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 bum. 1, 2, and 1, and 2, and ready, go. All right, still doing piston strokes, so I'm just reaching up with that left hand to strike the center of the B flat accidental. All right, I don't know if you noticed this, but when I was playing my chromatic scale, I was here, centered between both C's. I kind of leaned in one direction or another, but then when I shifted to my next exercise over here, I shifted just a little bit to make sure that I was centered in the F scale. Now, we're going to learn a new scale, the B flat 5-note scale. So guess what? I'm going to shift over a little bit to get in front of what will be the 5 notes of the B flat scale. All right, so we're starting on B flat. And we learned this in our last lesson where the low B flat is, below the staff, below that ledger line. If I go up a whole step from B flat, I have C. Up another whole step, D. Up a half step, E flat. Up a whole step, F. So I say the letter names in order, B, C, D, E, F, but I use my flat signs, B flat, C, D, E flat, F. So I can think of my whole, whole, half, whole to compose my 5-note scale. So let's just play the 5-note scale going up. I'm just thinking of. So notice that I'm starting with my right hand. So my right hand is forward, B flat, C, D. Then my left hand moves forward for the E flat, F, and then I come back down. So let's try the 5-note scale up and down one time at a slow tempo. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, piston strokes all the way through. You don't really have to worry about your hands being on top of each other. If you're using piston strokes, they will always get out of the way of each other. Let's try that again. I'm going to step up just a little bit to my keyboard. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, so practice that. Now let's just repeat it. We'll do it 4 times through at a little bit faster tempo. 1, 2, and 1, 2, ready, go. All right, so some of this, when you were playing scales, will pay off as we're reading music that uses the B flat and E flat, because now we're getting used to that kinesthetic feel of what the keys feel like and what our hands will feel like as we're moving to different notes. The other thing that you're getting is just that motion of the piston stroke as I'm moving my arms with the piston stroke. So getting used to this scale patterns and practicing your scales every day is a very important part of eventually becoming a very good technical player on the keyboard. So let's try it at 100. Bum, 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 bum. A little bit faster tempo. 1, 2, set and go. Okay? Now certainly on our scales, we can memorize our scales. You don't have to stare at the music as we're just playing repetitive exercises or scales over and over. But what I would encourage you to do is, after you've gotten the kinesthetic feel, is to look away from the keyboard and look up so you can get more development. Instead of staring at every single note that you're playing, looking up, you can start feeling the keys and you feel what the motion is to play that scale pattern. So work on that every day. We're going to go through the 8-4-2-1, C major scale, chromatic scale, the F 5-note scale, and now add on the B flat 5-note scale. As we add more and more scales, the more and more these hand patterns, as you're moving here and moving your arms forward and backwards, will start becoming more and more familiar to you. All right, let's move from our playing to picking up our pencil, and we're going to do a little pencil game because we're going to learn the dotted half note. In the middle of page number 41, I introduce you to a new note value called dotted half notes. Now we already know what a half note is. A half note receives 2 counts in quarter time. On this example here, there is a half note which receives 2 quarter notes. Whenever I place a dot behind the half note, it increases its value by half of that original value. So 2 quarter notes, half of 2 is 1. 1 plus 2 equals 3. So a dotted half note will equal 3 quarter notes. Now that's not always the case that a dot will increase a value by 1. If I have a whole note would receive 4 counts. I don't just add 1. A dotted whole note would not equal 5. It would equal half of 4 is 2. 2 plus 4 equals 6. So a dotted whole note will equal 6 counts. So it's really important that you remember that half of the value is what a dot will do to a note, not just adding a count. All right, so what we're going to do in this exercise is draw in the bar lines to separate the notes into measures. All right, so first of all, we need to know what our time signature is. The time signature in this line right here is 4/4. So there are going to be 4 beats per measure. So we need to know that because we're going to count to 4 using our note values and rest values, and then we're going to draw a bar line. So we want to write the counts in. I like to do it as I do it instead of drawing in the bar lines and then coming back. So you might either divide the notes into measures or write in the counts with me. All right, let's start off with this first half note here. That's 1, 2. My half rest will be 3, 4. I'm in 4/4 time, so I draw a bar line. Now, remember, our dotted half note gets 3 counts, so 1, 2, 3, and then my quarter note will be count 4. After count 4 is my bar line. So I like to use dashes just to remind myself that, first of all, that I sustain that note, and then each dash is a count that I'm sustaining. All right, in our next measure, we have 2 eighth notes. Now remember, eighth notes are the downbeat plus the upbeat. I'm going to put a plus sign. You can say 1 and or 1 te, either way. After the upbeat is count 2. Quarter notes get a whole count. 3. I put a dash for my count 4. Draw in the bar line. A whole note's pretty easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Draw a bar line. I have a rest. I love to put the numbers above the rest. That kind of gets it out of the way when I'm reading it. 1. Dotted half note starts on count 2, 3, 4. So that's 3 counts right there. 2, 3, 4. Bar line. All right, now you need to know what kind of rest this is. This rest here is a whole rest. So I am thinking of 1, 2, 3, 4. A whole rest takes up a whole measure, so I draw a bar line. And then my last measure here, this is a half rest. Half rest is 2 counts, 1, 2. And then straight eighth notes, remember I have to subdivide the beat in half, 3 and 4 and. Now what is always at the end of a line? A double bar line. I like to do a thick and a thin and a thick just so that I know that's the end of the line. All right, so make sure that you take a couple of minutes and do those exercises or this exercise. That will help cement your note values in your head so you'll be able to count and play anything. Okay, now let's do the music reading on page number 41. We start off pretty simply with just a few notes. I always like to start off with just a couple of notes and then expand my range a little bit further and a little bit further. So if you look at this first line here, notice that I start off with my note C. And I know that that is a C because it has a ledger line drawn through it. So I'm going to start off by naming the notes, and then I'm going to finger so I'm touching every key. So look at the first 2 measures. I'm starting off on C, C, D, D, E flat. Now what kind of note value is the E flat? The E flat is a dotted half note, receives 3 counts. So if I play this on 1, I sustain through 2, 3, and then I'll play the quarter note on D on count 4. All right, so you need to know your note values. Right now, we're striking a note and thinking of dotted half note, 3 counts, dotted half note, and then playing on count 4. All right, let's finger through, say the note names on the first 2 measures. 1, 2, ready, go. C, C, D, D, E flat, D. So I can say E flat, or I can say E flat, 2, 3, 4. Do it one more time, just the first 2 measures. 1, 2, ready, go. C, C, D, D, E flat, 2, 3, 4. Now, when I go to my next measure, notice I have my E flat again, D, E flat, stays in E flat because flat carries over through the measure, and then C. So if I have my right hand on E flat, D, E flat, C, I'm keeping my right hand on E flat, my left hand moves between D and C. All right? And then my 4th measure, D, D. Now this dotted half note starts on count 2, so it also gets 3, 4. So that's my dotted half note. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right? And then my last measure, of course I'm going to do a repeat, but for right now, my last measure is just C, C, rest. All right, so let's finger through the entire line with the repeat, touching the keys. I'm going to alternate all the way through. All right, you want to make sure that you're getting used to reaching up for that E flat. All right, whichever hand is going to play that E flat. All right, and then touch that in the center of the bar. 1, 2, ready, go. C, C, D, D, E flat, D, E flat, D, E flat, C, D, D, E. Repeat. C, C, D, D, E flat, 2, 3, 4, E flat, D, E flat, C, D, D, C, 4, C, C, rest. All right, so I'm counting, I'm saying note names, getting confused as I do it, but you want to make sure that you're able to touch the keys, say the note names, but also remember that your dotted half note gets 3 counts. All right, so it appears to me the only notes I'm playing here are C, D, and E flat. So just take a couple of seconds. Okay, and just play through a little bit, create your own melody with those three notes. You can stare at them for a second, but you want to look away and see if you can develop that peripheral vision and the kinesthetic feel for where those notes are on the keyboard without having to look directly at them. Okay, let's try this. We're going to put the metronome on 70. I'm going to go really slow. Let's see if you can get all the way through it without making mistakes. And 1, 2, set and go. C, C, D, D, E flat, 2, 3, D, E flat, D, E flat, C, D, 3, 4, C, C, D, D, E flat, 2, 3, D, E flat, D, E flat, C, D, D, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4. All right, so the last measure is not a dotted half note, it's just a half note which receives 2 counts. All right, so you might want to take that slowly. You might want to take a couple of measures and just play those first 2 measures a few times, and then play measures 3 and 4 a few times until you get really used to it, especially measure 3 and 4. But what's important, keeping your eyes on the music. Do not memorize, and certainly do not write in the note names. Okay? You definitely don't want to do that. So do not memorize. Keep your eyes on the music. Let's play it a little bit faster tempo. Let's see if we can do it at 80. 1, 2, and 1, 2, set and go. 2, 3. 3, 4. 2, 3. 3, 4. Half note. Rest. Okay, so practice that line. You might want to go to PadLab and woodshed that if you need a little bit more practice on it. You can play it along with the snare drum part, you can play it along with the accompaniment, or you can take the audio tracks and just hear the keyboard and play along with that. So really encourage you to do that. Then let's go on to our next line. In line number 2, I'm in 3/4 time. So 3 beats to a measure. That's not a big deal. Quarter notes still receive the beat. Half notes get 2 counts. Dotted half notes get 3 counts. I don't see any rest in this line. So let's start by fingering through and saying the note names. Now I'm starting off with my same note, so it might be, as I'm looking at it, E flat, D, C, D. Oh, I go F and G, so I am going to add a couple of notes here, but it starts off with my E flat. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. E flat, E flat, E flat, D, 2, 3. C, 2, C, D, D, 3. E flat, E flat, E flat, F, 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 G, look ahead, D, C. All right, so that's a pretty big jump from G down to D, C. So you have to just recognize what the note is. Some of this is really simple because I'm just going up and down a scale. E flat, D, C, D, E flat, F, G. And then all of a sudden I have this big jump that I have to actually look at those notes to make sure that I play the right D and C. All right, let's do that one more time. Make sure that you keep your eyes on the music, touch the keys. I'm alternating, all right, which will help. 1, 2, ready, go. E flat, E flat, E flat, D, 2, 3, half note, C, D, D, E flat, E flat, E flat, F, 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 G, D, C. So 3 counts on that last note. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 5 notes in this scale, so I just want to first look at the keys. And then kind of create your own melody. By looking away from the keys. All right, so this song uses a different kind of scale. So we played the C major 5-note scale, but this one uses an E flat. Sounds different, doesn't it? So this uses what's called a minor scale, and we'll get to that later in book number 2. After you learned all your major scales, we'll talk about minor scales. But we really want to be able to make sure that we're kind of improvising a song. And this song sounds a little more sad than a major scale, but anytime that you're playing around and improvising your own scale, you're getting, or your own music, you're getting more and more familiar with that keyboard. All right, so we can start at 70 and let's see if we can play through this whole line. Anytime that you have a dotted half note, you can glance down at your hands just to kind of familiarize yourself with the layout, all right? I really encourage you to try to keep your eyes on the music as much as possible, but sometimes you can glance down just to feel more comfortable, but make sure that you're always looking back up at the music and finding your place in the music. Here we go. 1, 2, set and go. E flat, E flat, E flat, D, 2, 3. C, C, D, D, 3. 1, 2, 3. F, 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 G, D, C, 2, 3. Especially when you have large jumps like that, G, D, C. Sometimes it's helpful to glance down so that you're striking that D in the right place. All right, so you will be able to glance down as you play. You're not always going to keep your eyes completely focused on the music. Percussionists always glance around them as they're playing different instruments, or when you're marching, or when you're watching the director and looking at your music. But you always have to find your place back in the music as soon as you glance away and glance back. All right, the last one is a song, but now we're using our 8th notes. So we're going to go through this line by line. So let's just look at the first line here. What is my first note? It's got what kind of line that goes through the notes? Okay, if you have a note head and you have a line that goes through it, that line is called a ledger line. All right, just kind of making sure that I repeat it over and over and over and over, and so you get it right. All right, let's try just the first 2 measures, starting on C, which has that ledger line. Notice I'm pretty much just going up the scale to E flat and then back down to D. So just the first two measures. 1, 2, and ready, go. C, 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 D, 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 E flat, E flat, E flat, D, D. So we have to get the rhythm right. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4. And then notice that it has a pattern to it. I'm just going up and back down. Do the first two measures again. 1, 2, and ready, go. 1, C, C, D, 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 E flat, E flat, E flat, D, D. And then my last measure, I go back to the E flat, E flat, E flat, E flat, F, F. So I'm going up the scale. Ba da 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 da. All right? So you can kind of see the pattern to those scale notes. All right? Let's finger through that whole line and then we'll play it. 1, 2, and ready, go. C, 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 D, 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 E flat, E flat, E flat, D, D, E flat, E flat, E flat, F, F. Now, on this one, I do have the sticking written in for you because I want you to get used to alternating as much as possible. It's possible at this very slow tempo to play it all with one hand, right? But as we speed up and we get faster and faster at reading music and the music has more technical lines to it, you won't be able to use multiple hands on the same hand. So let's learn how to alternate by playing this line. Very slowly. 1, 2, and 1, 2, and set and go. Okay, pretty simple, all right? Especially because I'm just going back and forth. And if you're familiar with those notes that we're going to be using, then you can kind of improvise that, play around with that. But then as you're reading, try to use the sticking as well as hitting the right notes in the right place. Okay, look at the second line. The second line starts on G. So I'm all the way up here on a G. I'm going to finger through and say the note names. My first measure is simple. G, 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 rest. Look at my second measure. I have some pretty big skips here from G to C. Now, I can go right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. But a lot of times when we have doubles on the keyboard, we'll use double strokes. So in measure 2, G, G, C, C, G, G, C. All right, I can go right, right, left, left, right, right, left. Use my double strokes so that way I'm not having the chance of missing notes as I'm jumping. All right, and then our last measure, B flats, B flat, B flat, C. All right, so we have to reach down with our right hand, right, left, C. All right, let's finger through that whole line. 1, 2, and set and go. G, 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 rest. G, G, C, C, G, G, C, B flat, B flat, B flat, C. All right, so when I have my rest in that first measure, I can kind of look down and place my left hand on the C. I can glance down to make sure I've got that right interval. And then when I'm playing that, I look back up at my music. B flat's pretty easy to find, and then I finish the song. So let's try this line playing with a metronome, saying the note names out loud. 1 and 2 and ready, go. G, 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 G. Glance down. Okay, so were you able to do that? Glance down, find your C. Looking back up as you're playing that measure. And then you can finish off the song. All right? Now let's play both of those lines without stopping. I want to be able to get all the way through. When I get to the end of my first line, I always have to look ahead. Okay, I'm playing my last measure, E flat, E flat, E flat. I'm already looking ahead to G, 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 G. All right, this is pretty simple. We don't have anything that's really complicated, but you can kind of memorize a little bit of a measure while you look ahead. So let's try this whole line, a whole song, both lines. 1, 2, ready, and go. C, 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 D, 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 E flat, E flat, E flat, D, D, E flat, E flat, E flat, F. Look ahead, G, 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 G. Glance down, look back up. All right, so I encourage you to break it down. Okay, breaking it down as in saying the note names while you finger through it, doing a line at a time, maybe even a couple of measures at a time to find the patterns that are happening in the music. All right, and then when you put it all the way together, take it at a very slow tempo. If you can't play it at 70, then certainly don't speed up. Go back down to 60 and work through it a few measures at a time until you can play the whole thing through perfectly. Then, and only then, can you speed the tempo up. All right, you really want to be able to master something before you try to take it faster. All right, so after you've learned your B flat major scale, 5-note scale, and you've learned about dotted half notes, and you've learned these 3 music reading lines, then you're ready to move on to video number 2.